You can smoke on a Royal Caribbean cruise ship in designated areas, but is that something Royal Caribbean will ever change? It's a deeply debated topic, and we're going to talk about it up next. Hey everyone, it's Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. While smoking is allowed in certain venues on Royal Caribbean cruise ships, it's one of those topics that gets brought up all the time about should there be smoking allowed on cruise ships and where they're allowed to be, because the rules have changed over the years. Many years ago, you were able to smoke on your balconies, but that's no longer the case. And there's even been discussions, even at the top levels, about should that continue to be the case and should Royal Caribbean allow smoking to continue. There was actually a short period of time in 2021 in which Royal Caribbean actually banned smoking anywhere inside its cruise ships, including casinos. Now, that was during the height of COVID and some of the restrictions related to the Omicron variant, if you remember all of that stuff. But it reignited the debate about whether or not smoking should be allowed on cruise ships. And actually, Royal Caribbean's CEO, Michael Bayley, weighed in on it, saying that smoking casinos is, quote, a bit of a conundrum. He went on to say that, quote, the dilemma is that there are many people who do want to smoke in the casino. I know that's not a popular response, but it's the truth. I'm not judging anyone or anything, but there's a large group of people who do want to smoke in the casino, end quote. What he's talking about is the casino is one of the few places inside the cruise ship you are allowed to smoke. Now, Royal Caribbean's rules say that if you're actively playing, then yes, you can smoke in the designated areas. All of Royal Caribbean's casinos have a non-smoking and smoking section. Of course, just like non-smoking and smoking sections on an airplane, how effective that is at keeping the smoke on one area is debatable. However, there are areas you're allowed to do so. Now, Royal Caribbean claims it's not a smoking lounge, meaning you're not supposed to go in there, light up if you're not playing, but in practicality, that still happens. It's not uncommon, though, when I'm in the casino to hear the casino host make regular announcements to remind guests of that rule, although in my experience, people just don't pay any attention to it. Michael Bayley then went on to say, every couple of years, we do this test, and we take 1 or 2 or 3 ships, we ban smoking in the casino. And the result is less people go into the casino, and that's the reality of it, end quote. So it sounds like Royal Caribbean doesn't really have any firm plans to ban smoking. Now, this quote actually came out a couple of years ago. Obviously, not much has changed. The one thing that Royal Caribbean has changed, though, is the addition of non-smoking areas beyond the main casino. And this relates to the Oasis class ships. Royal Caribbean converted all of its jazz clubs that used to be on Deck 4 to non-smoking casino venues. And this started with Wonder of the Seas when that ship rolled out and they had this idea to try it out. And I guess the test worked out well because every other Oasis class cruise ship has had its Jazz on 4 venue converted from a jazz club over to a non-smoking casino. That's a very small venue, and it has a couple of table games and it has a variety of slot machines in there, but it is indeed a completely smoke-free casino option. On sister brand Celebrity Cruises, you're not allowed to smoke at the casino at all. They don't have non-smoking casino and smoking casino. They just have no smoking in the casino 100%. And even on certain Royal Caribbean itineraries, if you're sailing out of Southampton, England as an example, smoking is not allowed in the casino there. In case you're wondering, the reason why Royal Caribbean and many cruise lines limit smoking to certain areas, and certainly not on your balcony, is because it's a fire hazard. It has less to do with public health, believe it or not. I'm sure that maybe factors into it, but truly the reason why smoking is so locked down on a cruise ship is because of the fire hazard. Fire is a major problem on a cruise ship. You know, people often joke, about icebergs, things like that. Let me tell you something. Fire is the thing that keeps people up at night at Royal Caribbean because that's the biggest danger because it can spread very easily. For a lot of people, smoking on their balcony seems like an obvious place to do it, but it is not allowed. And the problem and the reason why Royal Caribbean doesn't allow smoking on your balcony is because when cigarettes are not properly extinguished, it could cause a fire. Plus, if they're thrown overboard, that's pollution at sea. And for these reasons, this is why Royal Caribbean does not allow it. They certainly don't want any of those things being a potential issue. And before you try lighting up on your balcony, there are 2 good reasons why you shouldn't do it. First and foremost, there is the fact that there is security cameras that look at the balconies, the reason being for anything going overboard, and your puffs of smoke will certainly show up on that. Number 2, and I would argue even more important than that, is that the smoke can waft to your neighbors nearby. And this happens more often than you think. I've certainly experienced it many, many times. And let me tell you something, for non-smokers, it's not so much about what you're doing or not. It's about the fact that they're getting secondhand smoke coming over to their balcony. It's not enjoyable. And so for those reasons, you should be respectful of your fellow passengers. On Royal Caribbean cruise ships, cigarette, e-cigarette, cigar, and pipe smoking are only allowed in specific outdoor areas, usually one side of the pool deck. and you'll find signs and ashtrays to indicate where that's available. And as I mentioned earlier, in the casino, you are allowed to smoke in there, although you are supposed to be only smoking in the smoking area and also while actively playing. On Royal Caribbean's Oasis class ships, Central Park or Boardwalk neighborhoods do not allow smoking at all, even though they are outdoors. Speaking of smoking, vaping is included with all of these rules that we're talking about. So Royal Caribbean lumps in vaping with cigarette smoking and cigars and anything else that's combustible. So you need to remember that while you may have a particular opinion on the virtues of vaping or how it's different than cigarette smoking, for right now anyway, this is where Royal Caribbean is keeping it. So the rules are still the same if you're vaping versus if you're smoking a cigarette. And that leads us, of course, to marijuana, because a lot of people want to know about that. Can you bring weed on a cruise? And the answer is no. And this has less to do, by the way, with like Royal Caribbean being anti-drugs or anything like that. It's more about the countries that you're visiting. Royal Caribbean is sailing to different countries around the world. And when your cruise ship departs whatever country you started from, most usually the United States, it does not matter if marijuana is legal where you live. When you're visiting those countries, you have to adhere to their local laws. You are a guest in their country. So as a result, you are not allowed to bring marijuana, even for medicinal purposes, on a cruise ship. In fact, no illegal drugs or illegal substances are allowed on board. They're also not allowed to be used on its private islands, inside cruise terminals, or at ports of call, or during shore excursions. This policy even applies if the port of call your ship leaves from has weed as a legal substance in that state. And since we're on the topic, I'm sure people will ask, anyway, can you bring CBD on a cruise ship? And the answer is no, because Royal Caribbean's contract states that you're not allowed to bring any form of marijuana, including its various forms. Quote, marijuana, even in its medicinal form or for medicinal purposes, shall be prohibited, end quote. So will Royal Caribbean ever update its smoking policies? Will it allow vaping? Will they ban smoking altogether? What about marijuana? These are all great questions. To be clear, I have no insight beyond what any of you all have. I just have my own personal opinions on the subject. As a non-smoker personally, I don't have any vested interest in the outcome of this, other than the fact that when I go into the casino and it does reek of cigarette smoke, I certainly don't look forward to that or enjoy it. However, I do want to respect other people's ways and opinions for enjoying their vacation, but I also want those same people to obviously respect the rules that are in place. If I had to bet on the subject, I really don't think that Royal Caribbean is going to ban smoking altogether anytime soon. I mean, even Disney Cruise Line allows smoking on outdoor areas on their ships, and I think Disney tends to be very aggressive in how they handle smoking. I mean, after all, in their theme parks, it's not allowed, but it's still allowed on their cruise ships, even though Disney does not operate casinos on board. And I really think the casino is the main driver for that. At the end of the day, it's all about money. They are a for-profit company, and the casino almost certainly makes more money with smokers in there than it doesn't. Of course, you can make the counter argument if there was no smoking in there, more non-smokers would gamble, but Royal Caribbean has basically said in the past that in their tests they've done, there's just more people that gamble and smoke than the other way around. That being said, I think Royal Caribbean is looking at this non-smoking casino versus smoking casino option as its way forward to at least offer the best of both worlds in that scenario. The thing is, of course, as of right now, there's only a couple of ships that actually have a truly non-smoking casino, with the other ships in the fleet obviously left on the sidelines. Heck, even the brand new Icon of the Seas does not have a truly non-smoking casino. Although on Icon, they did implement a number of fans within the casino, both on the floor and in the ceiling, to help move smoke around. But at the end of the day, you're still in a giant room of which there are people that are smoking on one side and people that are not smoking on the other side. There's going to at least be an odor at the very least. So it's time for your thoughts now. Should Royal Caribbean ban smoking altogether? Should they make changes, alterations to their smoking policy? Let me know in the comments below. While you're down below our video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications. That way, YouTube lets you know we have a brand new video to share. This has been Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. We'll talk again real soon.